Hey guys, let's jump right back into this. All right, now we're going to start talking about the different parts of the cell. Now, cells have lots of different parts, but we're going to talk about three main ones today. Okay, we'll get to the rest later. Just like you're made of a lot of parts, cells are made of a lot of parts that do similar things since it is a living thing. So the first one is the cell membrane. That is the thin structure that surrounds the cell. It's kind of like the cell's skin. It kind of keeps everything in. It allows stuff to move in and out a little bit. Sometimes it blocks stuff that it doesn't need. Sometimes it lets stuff through that it really does need. So think of the cell membrane as the skin of the cell. Cells also have this stuff called cytoplasm. This is like a jelly-like substance. It's kind of watery. And this just allows for a lot of activities that have to happen in order to keep the cell alive and functioning to happen. It gives it a space to happen. Okay, I like to think of it like water in a pool. And then we have the nucleus. A lot of people have heard of the nucleus. That is the control center of the cell. I'm sure you've heard about it in school in years past. Okay, it's kind of like the brain center of the cell. It controls a whole bunch of different stuff, which we'll get into in a second. First, we'll talk about the cell membrane. There's three main jobs of the cell membrane. Number one, it protects inside the cell. Like I said, just like if some dirt gets thrown your way when you're out on a field or you get hit with a tennis ball or something like that, it protects you. All right, so the same thing happens here. The cell membrane protects the cell from harmful stuff from getting in. It also helps give it some shape and support. For instance, our skin kind of keeps all of our muscles in place and all the goo inside of our body and everything like that, so it doesn't go spilling all over the place. Well, the cell membrane has to do the same exact thing. And it also controls movement of materials in and out. When it needs something, it will let it in. When it wants to get rid of something, it will get it out. Okay, kind of like when we sweat. Sweat will go out. Our skin will let it out. Okay, but our skin will also help absorb moisture when we're dehydrated and we need more inside of us. So lots of different things can move in and out of the cell membrane, and we'll get more into that later. The cytoplasm, like I said before, is kind of like a pool of water. It allows things to happen in there. It contains all the cell organelles. All of these, just like we have organs, because cells are smaller, we just changed the name to organelles. But this is like the watery stuff where all the cell organelles kind of hang out and they coordinate with each other in order to keep the cell alive. Okay, cytoplasm is pretty easy. Finally, we get to the head honcho. Here we go, nucleus. This is the boss man, all right? I'm telling you now, this is the boss man. This is the control center of the cell. It controls all of the life process. It controls growth, reproduction, you name it, it does it. It's metabolism, just like you have a metabolism, how quickly you use energy. The nucleus is like the principal of a school, okay? He's in charge, don't mess with him. Controls reproduction, depending on how the cell reproduces. And cells reproduce in a couple different kinds of ways, which we'll get to in a later unit. Sometimes it splits by itself, sometimes it grows a new one out of it, all of that kind of stuff. And the nucleus also contains all of the genetic material. You may have heard of this thing called DNA. It's kind of like the blueprints that make you who you are. It makes you what you look like. It makes you how you're going to grow, whether you're born with 20 fingers and 20 toes, all that kind of stuff, which we're not really born with that. But so this contains all the genetic material that you need in order to be you. Same kind of thing happens with the cell. The nucleus contains all of this information to make sure the cell functions properly. So those are the three main parts of the cell that you need to know for today. We're going to get into more later. So you have the cell membrane, which controls movement and stuff in and out. You've got the cytoplasm that kind of allows a space for all this different cell organelles that we're going to talk about eventually to get along. And then we've got the big head honcho, the boss man, the nucleus, the control center of the cell that controls all of its life processes, all of its reproduction, and contains all of the DNA to make the cell unique. All right. Make sure that you guys fill out your Google form and answer the couple questions on the video, and I will see you later.